Greetings, I'm Bill Kladky, and I'd like to welcome you to today's edition of Neighborhood Beat. Today's show looks at homelessness in Maryland, and we're going to focus on Baltimore County. Our guests today are Kathy Martin, who's on the board of directors of the Baltimore County Communities for the Homeless, and the Reverend Fred Weimert, who's pastor of Calvary Baptist Church and a board member of Baltimore County Communities for the Homeless.
Yes.
First of all, Kathy, could you tell us a little bit about your organization?
Sure. Baltimore County Communities for the Homeless, we shorten that to BCCH, is a group of individuals that are faith leaders from nonprofit service providers for the homeless, as well as folks from government who work on the ground. And we work to educate and find gaps in homeless services and ways we can make the process work much smoother, more efficient, and get people the help that they need.
Great, thank you. And Reverend Weimert, or Fred, if I can call you that, could you please tell me a little bit about your ministry?
Calvary Baptist Church is in Towson, but it is the site also of the Assistance Center of Towson Churches. So we have, through the years, that's been going on since the mid-'80s. And so we have, for years, seen a lot of people with homeless issues, but also with other kinds of issues that kind of are precursors to homelessness.
I know that's one of your many missions.
Yes. Yes.
And I know you have other missions in the community.
We do a lot of things through the church. Many of the things relate to homelessness. We do some feeding with Immaculate Conception. We make cakes the first Sunday of every month for our daily bread. We do shelter meals for the emergency shelters once a month, and then every other month for the nighttime shelter. And then there are just the regular ministries that churches put on. We have worship services. We just had an ordination recently. So
that's wonderful.
Lots of things.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Sounds like you do a lot of different things with various denominations.
Yes.
Various denominations.
Yeah. There's. I just was at an interfaith gathering, and I used to help head that up, the Jewish Christian Islamic dialogue group, but.
We have reason to be proud in the Baltimore area with the level of interfaith dialogue and interfaith cooperation. Would you agree?
Oh yes. There are programs both for leaders and congregants. I think probably one of the formative people in doing that was Rabbi Agus, who years ago was at Bethel Congregation and very dedicated to interfaith dialogue.
Wonderful books too, Jacob Agus.
Yes.
On Amazon.
Exactly.
Kathy.
Yes.
Kathy, could you please tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the working with the Baltimore County Communities for the Homeless?
Certainly. I am a member at Camp Chapel United Methodist Church in Perry Hall and became their outreach chair. Was talking to some members of our church who said, we really should be able to do something for folks that are homeless. And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, there's a shelter. Maybe we can do something. So I started making phone calls and connected to the right folks. And we started 6 years ago serving once a month at the Eastern Family Resource Center homeless shelter area. And now we have 4 teams a month that we send. So we've just grown from that particular ministry, and we have about 40 people that go down during the month. Once I connected with the folks who were working on the ground with the homeless, our homeless neighbors, then I got connected to Baltimore County Communities for the Homeless, and have just been really working hard to find solutions to problems. And I am an engineer, a computer scientist by trade. This is not. So what I try to do is help put a little organization into places that and sort of get that focus and keep the focus while we're working out solutions. So just energizing folks. I try to be a cheerleader for everybody who's working, whether it's someone who's just having a really bad day or who's trying to help folks who are having a really bad day. Sometimes that's really what we need to support each other.
Absolutely.
So it's bringing that combination of faith and action, mission work, and all of that together, and our skills, our talents, and so that's how I sort of got into into the mix here.
Great, thank you, thank you. I bet a lot of folks that are watching this show in Baltimore City, for example, would say, homelessness in Baltimore County, is this an issue at all?
I think for a long time people thought, and people in Baltimore County even have treated homelessness as a city issue, and when we encountered homeless people, told them to go to the city to get help. Certainly, anytime you have an indigenous population of 700,000, you're going to have a percentage of that population, even a small percentage, that are going to have issues with homelessness. And so we do have homeless people. We have young people that get homeless. We have people with substance issues, but we have lots of people because of the economy, people losing jobs that are on the verge of homelessness. Our county schools follow up with in excess of 1,000 kids that are not living in their own home.
So 1,000 kids are in the public schools.
Yes.
That are
yes.
in homeless families and homeless households.
And the school does a wonderful job. Carol Love is a wonderful advocate for homeless children and works hard to see that they're able to stay in the school that they started the year in, and to try to keep as much consistency for them. And it's really important.
Absolutely. Kathy, would you agree with is the general trend of homelessness in Baltimore County going up?
Yes, it is. And it's actually the face of homelessness that's changed quite a bit. When our church started serving 6 years ago, the face was mainly adult. And within 6 months, we started to see a tremendous increase in the number of children. Actually, 75% of all the children that come are under the age of 11. Many of them, all of them who are school age, go to school, but we see a tremendous number of infants and toddlers as well. And
let's underline that. 75%
of our children that are homeless in Baltimore County are under the age of 11.
Wow.
And so this is a real crisis for them because this is their formative years.
Yeah.
And actually one of the activities, one of the big projects that BCCH embarked upon a couple of years ago is we realized that many of the children were babies and toddlers, and they were spending the day in their strollers. So we did a huge fundraiser and created the seed money to start a therapeutic nursery right at the shelter for babies and toddlers.
That's wonderful. A baby all day in a stroller is
not a good thing. Not
terrible.
A good thing.
On every level.
Horrible for their development, that's for sure. But again, the face of homelessness has changed. We mostly think of a stereotype of someone with substance abuse and maybe mental illness. That's not the case in the majority. The majority are folks who could work if they could find work. It's due to evictions. It's due to domestic violence. It's not just single folks anymore. We're seeing much more increase in families. As far as the racial makeup, it's about 47% Caucasians and around 44% Black or African American. So it is not just a majority is white, and it's the stereotypes. Really, we need to break those because in order to help people, we need to understand why it is that folks need help.
Yeah, it's really the new face of homelessness.
Yeah. We have. I see a lot of fellows up around the Towson area that are on the streets, and there have been a couple that I've seen with master's degrees from Hopkins, not with substance issues, frequently relating to divorce, child support, inability to do that, losing a home, losing a job, all in conjunction. And
this is in Towson.
That's in Towson, yeah. And to try to get things back together again is so difficult for people. And then you have depression and some other things that'll set in just as part of this, which is only natural. And it is really hard to get people back into the cycle of
the snake bites its tail. And,
yeah.
And once you become homeless, it undermines not only your physical standing, but your psychological standing, and it's much more difficult to get out of it.
Yeah, and then to to try to write a resume with some period of homelessness is horrible, because people think of all of those other stereotypic things, and therefore they really question whether they could hire you, and that's a problem.
We've painted a picture of the new face of homelessness. I know that Baltimore County existing resources are significant in trying to deal with this.
Yes, they are extremely significant. The Office of Community Conservation for Baltimore County is sort of the lead for running the shelters. They work with a number of nonprofits that run the shelters. Also, churches are running shelters themselves. And there are new church groups that are getting together and thinking about opening and providing direct service to our homeless neighbors. There's a lot of soup kitchens that run, again, with Baltimore County assistance if possible. But then also that we have Department of Social Services that runs through Baltimore County as well, and they're sort of the support system as far as caseworkers, and the health department as well is very involved. And there's a lot of funding and on-the-ground support from Healthcare for the Homeless. So there's a big energy and effort to make sure that the services wrap around folks rather than just let me fix one thing and then forget all of the rest of the problems. Right. And there's a lot more conversation across the government entities, agencies. And I think that some of it has to do with the fact that we're all seeing each other once a month at our BCCH meetings, and we're seeing where one group can help another, and we're feeding that back, and that's going up the chain of command in the county agencies.
That's
and
positive.
Very, very supportive.
That's positive. That's
Indeed.
Very positive.
Mm-hmm. And one of the main reasons is economics, as far as it costs much more to house in shelter a family of 4 than it would be if we can get them back on their feet. Also, though, it's the loss of productivity for that family. And so it's both goals there that we see, and those of us around the table, that is really, really important.
So actually the taxpayers gain
much
by
yes.
getting somebody out of the homeless shelter and back into their home, mm-hmm. working and providing for their kids.
Very, very much so. Yes,
yeah.
yes, it's very correct.
We really should look at it as a way to save taxpayer dollars.
Indeed, indeed. Which is why we're embarking, BCCH along with Baltimore County government is embarking on a charrette process that we'll be working over in the future here, and that is to develop a plan to address homelessness. And the idea here is to make those pockets, those time periods of homelessness very, very short. And we reach back and find ways to help people to prevent homelessness, but also when you've had that domestic violence incident, or when you've had that huge medical catastrophe that's used up all your resources, or you've lost your job and been evicted, that we can quickly turn your situation around and get you into some housing.
Before it gets drastic.
Before you lose all of your continuity of life, yes.
Yeah.
The charrette process, for those who may not understand it, is really a listening kind of conference, a listening and talking conference that will travel around the county first and foremost, and listen to the people, give people a chance to talk about homelessness as they see it, as they've experienced it. But it's not just for homeless people. It'll really help. Hopefully, it will help a lot of the people in the county become in touch with this new face of homelessness that you've talked about. And but then it'll help the county construct a program to look down the road 10 years and say,
more realistic.
Yeah, what can we put in place to try to? Certainly, we're never going to completely end homelessness, but we can keep the time, the duration of a person's experience of it very short by having things in place to help people move beyond this.